The tavern is one of the last buildings you will unlock in Medieval Dynasty, and while it may seem confusing for those unfamiliar with the endgame, the tavern is one of the best buildings to have since it makes a lot of money, levels villagers quickly, and gives you some pretty good stat boosts. So in this video I wanted to briefly go over everything you need to know about taverns in Medieval Dynasty. The tavern is a production building where villagers can be assigned as innkeepers, and is the last production building you can unlock once you reach 10,000 production tech points. In order to reach this 10,000 production tech, there's a variety of actions you could choose to do. Those actions being crafting tools, food, and most items. One of my favorite things to level my production right now is making flatbread. Once you unlock the kitchen, start harvesting rye, wheat, and oats from fields, and consider buying it at any vendors that sell it, especially if you have the barter feat in diplomacy. Flatbread costs 1 flour and 1/10 of a bucket of water, so that's 10 flatbread per bucket of water. And water buckets are pretty easy to get. You can build them in the workshop using planks and fill buckets in the well. Once you start threshing your grain in the barn, you're going to be swimming in flour, and as a bonus, you'll be getting free extraction skill points from filling up buckets. I recommend building the well nearby the kitchen to save you extra time going back and forth filling water buckets and cooking the flatbread. Once you reach that 10,000 production tech points, be sure to pay the king's tax of 1 like and 1 sub, and then you can finally build the tavern. The tavern workplace is a building where you can make juice, wine, and many other consumables. You'll notice there are 3 crafting benches behind the counter once built: the brewing station, the juice press, and the wine barrel. You even have the option to change some tablecloths on the table if you like to do some interior decorating. One of the cool things about the tavern is that the herald, the exotic goods vendor, and more recently the 3 bards will have a chance to visit your village each season once you build it. Upon completion, the tavern will contain a storage box allowing 300 kilograms of storage and will hold 2 workers. And the best thing about the tavern is that it's the best workplace for leveling your villagers' production tech. Train your production villagers here before moving them to other production workplaces like the kitchen, the smithy, the sewing hut, or the workshop. And to get your tavern automated and running, there are a few things you should have in advance. For starters, having an orchard growing fruits and hops, and having a farm growing oats and rye will be heavily required if you want to make a consistent amount of goods throughout the tavern. And aside from the hops, orchards take a couple years to mature too, so I advise you start this well before you unlock the tavern. You will also need a workshop 2 or 3 to make bottles, whether it be beer bottles, wine bottles, or mead bottles. Make sure you stock up on as much clay as possible in the extraction hut so you can have plenty of resources to make any bottles you need. And now we can get to making drinks. The juices you can create in Medieval Dynasty include apple, berry, cherry, pear, and plum, which all cost 1 wine bottle and a various amount of the chosen fruit. All of them are pretty good to make a profit, but if you convert the juice to wine, which won't cost you anything other than the juice itself to make, it'll become even more valuable and give different stats. One of my favorite wines right now is plum wine, because when you consume plum wine, it makes you deal 150% more damage, which is 3 times more damage than a simple potion of strength. Beers are pretty straightforward. You need an appropriate amount of rye, oats, or wheat grain, and then you'll need a bucket, a beer bottle, and hops. While all beers are pretty good, I think it's important to note that while you can sell rye beer, I would highly advise against it, and that's because if you drink rye beer, it'll give you plus 30 kilograms of carry weight, which is more carry weight than any consumable you'll find in the game at the moment. Now that being said, if you're playing with unlimited carry weight, you can disregard this and sell the rye beer all you like, but I wanted to at least mention that for those that don't know. Oat Ale is almost made the same as oat beer minus the hops, but won't sell for as much. But if you don't have enough hops to make beer, oat ale is not a bad option. And lastly, we have mead. Mead is one of my favorite things to make in the tavern because it only costs a mead bottle, a water bucket, and 8 honeycomb. Honeycomb can be acquired once you've unlocked an apiary, and once you have a high-level farmer working with the bees, you'll have so much honey that mead will be the easiest and most consistent thing for you to make. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, be sure to check out the video on the screen right now, and don't forget to pay the king's tax of 1 like or 1 sub. But until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.